Welcome to Slice of PI, where we take quick hot takes on the news whenever we feel like it. I'm your host, Matt, as usual, and with me is my co host who is currently downing 3 bowls of Lugao, one too hot, one too cold, and one just right. Anthony Borja. Borge.
Yum, yum. PI nyo, PI
So,
nating lahat. Welcome to Slice of
okay.
PI.
So, Lugao, is it essential or is it not?
Lugaw, Lugaw. We got distracted by it. That's it. Cue in music.
No. All right. Though what we're really talking about is something a bit more close to home, and it's affected our profession, and clearly it's not only we're not the only school experiencing right now, but it's only we took notice because this morning it was announced that there'd be academic easing. In other words, students are no longer obligated to submit any requirements or to study or to attend synchronous classes. And this has been happening periodically, particularly during Ulysses last time. And some people are even calling for an academic freeze, which is a complete stop of the school year for a lot of schools. Now, of course, it's difficult to condense all this, but that's the general topic we want to discuss as it's closely to home, and it's a chance for us to speak from the heart. So, what do you think, Borge, of this
Well,
academic easing?
well, I have nothing against academic easing. I'm for academic easing. I mean, we are all under a lot of pressure right now based on this current pandemic. Not only psychological pressure but also physical ones. As far as that document submitted to the administration of our respective university, which is of course would remain nameless for now, more and more students are being affected by COVID directly or indirectly, and many are trying to cope mentally with this. But not everyone has the same or suffering from the same implications. Some can and have coped. Some can and have thrived under this such dire conditions. And my take on this one is simple: we must have safety nets for those who cannot continue. First and foremost,
Right.
if they cannot continue, I mean they can drop. And as far as I'm concerned, they must be given discounts during re-enrollment. That's one proposal that I have in mind. If not a full refund, then a discount at the very least. But they
Right.
must be allowed to drop with minimal additional expenses.
Consequences.
Yeah, minimal
Right.
consequences. But again, it's not enough reason to stop those who can work under these conditions.
And well, uh, first of all, I just want to add, speaking of psychological stress, that even as we try to continue and teach online classes, I've actually been receiving, some emails. Some students have either been exposed to someone positive, someone who has been with family members who have died of COVID, some people who who are taking care of their sick relatives. And although the numbers in the news are reaching tens of thousands, you're starting to feel it now because it's within your reach. It's people directly, almost indirectly, as your people from your class. And it's difficult to continue to say, hang in there, stay safe, get well soon, when it just keeps happening every day. You have to be strong. And the thing is, it's also, it's quite difficult. You and I both, as educators, are both, well, to say the least, to put it generously, add a lot of adversity into. I mean, they're prof tayo, George. So, but and we're fine with that. It's part of our learning style to challenge students. But is it fair to challenge them at a time where there's anxiety? And so, if they deem themselves to be incapable of continuing, then they should be allowed to drop. But at the same time, I suppose it's to let those continue. Sure, that's great. In fact, it shows, I suppose, resilience on their part. Either that or simply privileged or lucky that they have security, financial, and I suppose geographic. If you're set in a subdivision, they're safe, more or less. But one thing is that I wonder, what if I want to ask you, what on this issue, what happens if this just highlights all the more the social stratification and the advantages of the middle class and elite, and only mean that they would graduate first. That would mean that they would have a distinct advantage in the job market, etc. So, what do you think about that?
That, well, that is a problem for the future first and foremost. Second,
Mm.
I don't think it is a problem.
Mm.
I don't think it is a problem. Even if
Right.
you graduated from a university, it doesn't guarantee you a
Hmm.
job.
Right.
That's one thing. It doesn't guarantee you a job.
Hmm.
And as far as our economy is concerned, I may be
There
brash
aren't
about this
jobs.
one. There aren't that
Yeah.
many jobs available at this time. I'm more
Hmm.
concerned about learning at this
Right.
point, more or less the capacity to
Okay.
learn. So
Right.
the issue of jobs, the issue of employment in the future, these are important, but these are distinct issues that probably we can tackle in
Mm.
the future. But for now, I'm just focusing on learning. And if
Uh
you're
huh.
willing to continue learning, if you have
Hmm.
if you have the strength and resource to continue learning, then
Right.
no general policy should stop you from doing so. But if you
Hmm.
cannot, out of pressure, out of lack of
Uh huh.
resources,
Right.
then measures must be clearly in place to ensure that you will not pay the costs, or you would
Right.
pay minimal costs of
Hmm.
dropping out. So they
Right.
can be signed off as incomplete. They can re-enroll
Hmm.
next term with paying less.
Hmm.
I
Right.
would like for them to not pay at all. And that's the ideal,
Right.
but they would pay less than
Hmm.
usual. So yeah.
Right. And so actually, that's an interesting
Mm,
proposal. The thing is, of course, Philippine society values education and degrees,
mm,
but in this age, I think there have been a lot of uh, watershed
mm,
moment, or like a abundance of
mm,
alternative forms of learning. You
mm,
know, not just in the classroom or with your professor in university, but
mm,
also in websites like Skillshare or even in
mm,
YouTube, where people learn how to cook, people learn how to design, people
mm,
learn different languages, people learn how to write, etc. So they, perhaps auxiliary skills that
mm,
you learn in university can be learned elsewhere. In
mm,
fact, you could even learn certain things like political science,
mm.
through things like PI Escuela, check out in our check out in our page. So yeah. So in other words, learning does not necessarily stop. So I think
Mm,
message for those of you who are learning, I suppose, if you feel like a student, if you're a student out there, it's okay to if it's okay not to be okay.
mm,
It's okay to take a break,
mm.
and hopefully the system or the structures can allow for that time to take a
Yeah.
break. And perhaps, but could never don't stop learning. And if this is an
Mm,
opportunity to learn, to be autodidacts.
mm,
Autodidact means you teach yourself a lot of things.
mm.
And I think Borge and I would agree and say that it's possible to learn political science, um, well, not necessarily by yourself, but guided through
Mm.
videos, through materials, So yeah.
I think at this
And
point, since due to academic easing, we only have at least one synchronous class per week. I think that this is borderline at that point. We're basically
mhm.
just YouTube videos for them every
Oh
every
yeah,
once a week, and most of the work they need to do on their own. They need to manage their own time. They
yeah,
need to conduct their own self-learning exercises.
right. How does it make you feel as an educator, like there's with these conditions?
It
Do you
is not
feel that you're
ideal.
okay?
It is
Mm-hmm.
bad as it is. It is terrible. The conditions right now are
Mm-hmm.
terrible. But it is,
Right.
for me, it is not an excuse to stop the entire system from working. It is
Mm-hmm.
enough to say that safety, against, as I've said over and over again, so people
Right.
would not throw rocks at me. Again, safety nets must be placed for those who cannot continue. But I don't
Right.
think it is enough to say that everyone should stop.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. So whoever can pay, whoever are still safe, they should still continue. And we would always be there for those who can continue.
Hmm.
So that's an interesting middle way that we are offering as educators. And I think it is an important thing to continue reflecting on,
Hmm.
basically education in the time of pandemic,
Yeah.
So there, I mean, both public and private schools try to march on, and
Hmm.
there are also alternative forms of learning. So how can we maximize um, these forms of learning in the
Hmm.
pandemic? I suppose this is an invitation to all podcasters and listeners and students out there. And if you have any inputs on this discussion, please join us in the and send us an email at pipodcastph@gmail.com, or send us a message in Facebook, in Anchor, and Spotify. But until then,
Magandang gabi, mga ka-PI.